I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. We are joined by Penny.Centsless. Hi.
Hi.
Please introduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah, my name is Penny.Centsless. I'm a silly cowlico on the internet. I am a cat-cow hybrid VTuber that likes to play a lot of variety and also kind of tout myself as not having much of a filter.
No filter whatsoever.
Well, no, not at all. Yeah. If you've seen some of my recent streams, whew.
it just might as well not even think about it. But
nope.
So when did you get started with the VTubing?
I've been VTubing for almost a year now. Actually, it's a little over a year now that I think about it, because I started the beginning of August last year. I was streaming for about a year prior to that, so I'm almost at 2 years streaming now. Yeah.
So why did you go from regular streaming to VTubing?
Honestly, having a layer of separation between you and your audience, in a way, it makes you able to connect with them more. I dabbled a little bit with it prior to that on days when I was tired and I didn't want to do my makeup for camera. I had like PNG tuber avatars and stuff like that. And I found I was able to communicate more comfortably with an avatar to use on screen.
Yeah. But are you an open person outside of VTubing? I mean, you don't have any social anxiety or anything like that?
I used to be a lot more reserved. Over the last 2.5 years of my life, I've had a lot of changes between, life changes, employment, and all that.
Right.
And I've gradually started to whittle away those masks and become more open.
Has the internet helped you with that?
Significantly. Just realizing that being myself in an environment where people can choose to be there or not. Obviously, I'm talking about streaming.
Right.
They choose to stick around even when I have those masks off, those filters off, and I have a community of amazing people that tune in every time I go live, that I chat to, and unfiltered conversations about things I probably couldn't even say on this podcast.
Well, you can. I mean, it's said 18 plus, and frankly, I'm old enough where I don't care what they think. So,
no, fair enough.
I mean, if they come after me, they're just wasting their time. So,
no,
really, it's good to hear that you come and found a situation where it's open for you to be and do what you want, and your community is the same way, you say?
Yes, yeah. I've had a lot of my community reach out to me privately and publicly about how they feel like my community is one that they can open up in and be themselves in ways that they haven't had as many places to do that.
Right.
It's kind of great to see that I'm able to curate a place where people feel comfortable to be open.
Mm-hmm. And even if they're... Yeah. One thing I've enjoyed about and talking to VTubers is the fact that this not only gives people a chance to be what they want to be, but it also gives them a chance to be what they are. And
yeah,
in this there's a, I mean, I'm sure there's a chance here for people to just kind of let it all hang out a little bit and have that avatar to give them just that little bit of deflection that gives them that little bit more security that they can go ahead and be themselves without fear of too much retribution.
Yeah, it gives them the ability to have more freedom of expression with that separation between themselves and their avatar.
Yeah, it does open them up sometimes, because there's other people who, frankly, when we find out what they are, we don't want to know about them.
No, that's true. That's true. Luckily, I've had nothing but a positive reception to me opening up and even as recently as within the last 2 or 3 weeks, I, demasked a little bit further and started talking about, uh, in some circles it would be seen as taboo, but for me, I feel like it's just natural progression to talk about, and that be like fetish content and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into specifics, but like, that just even breaching that topic slightly can put some people on edge, right?
I'm 58 years old. If I ain't seen it yet, it don't exist.
But I don't know. I've seen some stuff.
Yeah, I'm not going to test that.
No, exactly. But really, you probably shouldn't.
You've got a chance here to be positive about these things, and also
exactly
give other people a chance to feel positive about it. Because I grew up in the 70s and 80s where, you had two completely different decades there. The 70s were one thing, the 80s were another, and what was accepted and what was taboo is in the 70s was different than the 80s. I have no idea what's going on in the 2020s. For those of us who grew up in that generation, we're completely lost. But I'm at the point now where, as long as people are fine and they're enjoying themselves and they're comfortable and they're not hurting anybody, and good, do what you like.
Exactly.
And I don't know how that affects other people, but and that's another thing. Have you gotten any feedback that says, you're going a little too far?
Funny that you say that. I actually did have an encounter today, and I ended up having a little bit of a emotional roller coaster, we'll say, because of it. And it was a long-term friend that was talking. So I was talking. You already said I can talk about that kind of stuff. Absolutely. I was talking about lactation. They DM'd me privately to say that talking about that is, I wasn't talking about it from a objectification standpoint, or even really that much of a sexual standpoint. I was just saying, I'm going to probably dabble in some spicier things, and I may or may not have commissioned my I asked my live 2D model artist if they could do a toggle for me for that. And their response was saying that it was a very anti-woman decision, and that it sexualizes breastfeeding, and they felt really uncomfortable that it was on their feed. And essentially what I ended up doing was having a little back and forth to say, I understand that, you may perceive it in this way, but there are ways to look at fetish content and things that of that nature without necessarily focusing on the negative aspects that it can have, and more so on, the positive effects that it can have for somebody's self-esteem and things like that. And I understand it makes them uncomfortable, so I'll just make sure that they don't see it on their feed anymore. Yeah. But it's not going to stop me from doing that myself, right?
Well, yeah, I can understand it being uncomfortable. There's a lot of things that make me uncomfortable too, but the thing is, if it's uncomfortable, just go somewhere else for a while.
Exactly.
There's so many things to and so many people to watch on Twitch or YouTube or whatever that there's got to be something else you can tune into for a couple minutes and come back. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I say I'm not a total prude or anything, but I'm not going to be doing a lot of stuff that other people do. But that's not here or there. You've got an audience that now they know what they're getting into at this point. When they, you're not going to be hololive chased.
No, exactly, right. I'm not going to put on a hololive chastity belt and be a pure little angel or anything like that. I'd say it's more akin to the freedom you see with like not as bad as like Project Melody or anything like that, but V Shoujo and places like that, they don't really have that kind of like strict censorship. No. It's like I'll let myself do what I want to do and not worry about it.
Yeah, and people are going along for the ride. So
Mm-hmm.
and people are coming back. And as I tell people before, they're not necessarily coming back because of what you're doing on the screen, whether you're playing a game or they're coming back because it's you at this point. They're coming
Mm-hmm.
back for you, and that's
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
feel really good at this point.
Mm-hmm. And I came to that realization a long time ago because, according to my Twitch tracker metrics, I have streamed a total of 246 different video games.
Holy cow! Do you finish any of these
because
games?
because for me, I don't finish anything. I play it for a little while. I showcase it, and if people want to try it in their own time, they can. But like, I'll just try all kinds of weird things and just have fun with it, and I'm not worried about finishing the game to completion. And I have also streamed like 1,600 hours of streams too. So like, it's not like I haven't done a little bit of it, right?
Oh,
I'm sure you've talked to people who've done way more, but
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I have.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right up there.
I've been streaming for 2 years,
Yeah.
just under 2 years, consistently 3 times a week. I've never missed more than a week of time in streams, and average time is like 5 hours or so. So I have 1,600 hours in stream time under my belt in 2 years.
Good gravy. That's an intense pace. That really is. And you probably used up about half the Steam library at this point.
Oh my god, we don't talk about my Steam library.
I found it. I found
I'm
a
gonna go
taboo
into it
topic.
now. Just
I found a topic
games
you won't
owned.
talk about.
Games owned is 3,793 games.
Woof.
Yeah.
So
I have a problem. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a variety problem. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not like you're taking up half your house with it. I mean, they're computer programs.
I did that. I had to sell it.
Yeah.
I was a physical game collector before I came across some financial hardship. I sold my collection for 40% of its value as a bulk order because it was so much stuff. And at 40% of its list price, I got $7,000 for it.
Oh, I mean, that's a nice number, but still, that's had to hurt.
No, I know. Yeah, it did hurt. Yeah.
I had a baseball card, like I still do, but I had to sell a lot of it.
Yeah.
And that was every time it was like, oh man, I put so much effort into this.
Yeah. I did it all at once, ripped off the Band-Aid, and I was like, all right, it is what it is. Goodbye, retro games.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Now you got them all on the computer anyway, so what's the difference?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, let's be honest.
So what type of games are you playing most of the time?
I play a lot of indie games. I like to use a lot of those game distribution websites that'll give you codes to try out for games.
Well,
it's like you have like roughly a month to do content on this game. Stream it for at least an hour or two, and talk about it a little bit while you're playing it, right?
Yeah.
So I like to do that a lot because it lets the developers kind of get their game out there in different ways, and I get a game for free I get to have fun with, and I don't have to stress out about trying to figure out what I want to play, right?
It's cool. I mean, it gives these developers a really good chance to get their game out there. And I'm glad that there are a lot of VTubers that will go to the indie games and pull out a gem or two and give it some love on the internet. It's great advertising for them. And they get to see the response to it. People get to see somebody play it in real time, and of course that's when the interest hits, and they, where can I get that game? And
there was a game recently.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say there's a game recently. I played it on the day that it came out. Like I like planned to play it on the game it came out because it's an indie publisher and I like the games that they make. And then one of the developers was in the chat while I was playing it, literally like live patching things that came up while I was playing it. So that was a good feeling, right?
I said, hey, I'm stuck here. No, now you're not.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
I really struggled with a certain boss, and it was because there was an easy way to do it,
mm,
but then the normal way was too hard to do because
uh,
of like an issue where a certain thing had too much health and it would regenerate by the time you got to deal enough damage to it.
oh, I hate that.
And they were just like, all right, I'm gonna tweak the health of this and send a patch out live now to everybody. So I was like, all right.
Yeah.
So
So you got to be the
watching
game.
me get frustrated helped.
Yeah, you got to
Mm,
test out the bugs live.
exactly, right?
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with some bugs.
should have got some extra for
Yeah.
that, I would think. But anyway, um, with
Mm.
with that, about how many folks are you? Have you gotten a really good base that follow you for the games and into your other content, or are there different audiences for it?
Generally, I have the same audience regardless of what I'm playing, but I play enough of a variety that I can kind of like tickle people's special interests here
Mm,
and there
well,
that make them interested in certain games.
mm,
Like I'll find out through the grapevine that they've purchased a game that I tried on stream, and I'm just like, oh, that's awesome, right? And then I'll use that information to be like, well, there's other games that are kind of similar. So if like they're liking those games I'm playing enough to want to buy them, maybe I'll try some of these other games that are similar to that. See if
mm,
that vibes, right?
yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
I saw here that you recently did that wonderful indie game, Zelda: Link from the Past.
That was the last thing I streamed.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm going to continue playing that one because I didn't feel like people vibed as much. I was
Mm,
just kind of on a Zelda kick,
mm.
because of an indie game I played recently called Veritas that basically plays like a bunch of Zelda dungeons all in a row.
Mm.
And it kind of got me on a little bit of a Zelda obsession for a while.
Oh, I can see
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see
Yeah.
something reminding you back to it, and kind of, yeah, I should try this out again. And you've got the luxury of having such a big catalog that you can,
Hmm.
something might jog your memory that you played one time 9 months ago, and like, okay, well, yeah, that reminds me of this game, and bring it back and try it again, so people can get.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like a living library.
Yeah, and gaming encyclopedia, if
Yeah,
you
that's
will.
right.
Um,
But the
yeah, the other thing I've been playing a lot has been Elden Ring, but I've been playing it with one of the Pie Shock devices that shock you whenever you die in the game.
oh
So that's been
no.
fun.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
haven't been playing any of these games where the chat can play a part, can you?
Twitch
Um,
integration games are very interesting. I have one that I'm going to play sometime soon, but
yeah,
I've played Noita with Twitch integration.
yeah.
I've played there's actually a game dev that I know. His name is Falanier. That's been making a Twitch integrated game, and I've been kind of following that as it goes and played that a few times on stream. It's a game called Falanier Fantasy, so
Oh,
that's been good.
okay.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know if I could trust an audience that much. And they're not going to help you for the most part. They're going to like, see what happens.
Oh no.
Yeah, what happens when they?
Well, see, that depends on the game, right?
Yeah, I guess
It's like Noita, I got absolutely destroyed by chat.
so.
What you have to, yeah, I like got killed constantly,
Yeah.
and luckily there was no repercussions. But I remember spending 2 hours barely being able to make it past the first floor because every single time I turn around, they do something like, have exploding dice fall from the ceiling or like light my character on fire, and I'm like, oh my god.
Please give me a little time.
Um,
I guess Cult of the
mhm.
Lamb is that way too. They have a thing
Oh
where
yeah, actually, I was kind of lucky in my playthrough of Cult of the Lamb because I hit a sweet spot where people were actually trying to help me.
oh,
Um, yeah,
well
but it was a long time ago.
you rolled a
But
natural 20 there.
I did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was very lucky.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
all the people that were trying to hurt me just would go away for a little while. By the time they came back, I was already far enough ahead they couldn't mess with me. So
so
yeah.
what part now does streaming play in your life in general? How big a part?
I would say, well, streaming is definitely my number one hobby. I'm not at a point where I would say that it's a financially viable route for me to go in terms of like, full time or whatnot. I have a full time job, and streaming is just a really enjoyable hobby that allows me to socialize with a lot of different people and different walks of life from all over the globe. And that's both watching people's streams and actively streaming myself.
And that's how does that hit you, knowing that you've got people all over the globe watching it?
Honestly, it's kind of mind blowing to think, like, in terms of my metric spread or whatever. Like a large portion of it is in, of course, like North America, but then I have another chunk in the UK, and then I know that there's a couple people in more like Central Europe that watch, and and I actually now have somebody in like Japan and Australia, and it's crazy because I would never have met these people if it wasn't for Twitch. And I mean, I wouldn't have even met my fiance if it wasn't for Twitch, because that's where we met.
So so they hit a certain they gave you the most bits. We'll put it that way.
Yeah,
that was a real redemption win there for them. When you reach out and you're talking to these folks in other countries, other social constructions, do you occasionally get folks who confess to you having really tough times adapting and being a part of their particular social construction? Does that happen?
I mean, I have had a few people in the community that do lurk a lot and have messaged me privately saying, so I really enjoy your content, but I can't really socialize in the same way. So I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate you and the content that you produce. Even though, I'm not active in chat. Right. And like, for me, I can see other people sometimes struggle with different social groups, and I personally don't struggle with it much because I'm kind of a social chameleon in that way. I didn't used to be. I used to be actually a fairly big introvert, but that changed.
Well, good for everybody, including me. I appreciate that. Is it when you realize that you're kind of one of the what am I trying to say here? One of the things they can tie a rope to get through their day. One of the things that keep them going. How does that affect you?
I mean, it's definitely a lot of responsibility to be put on somebody that's just, being silly, playing games on the internet. But reality is, like, you develop a social structure that does support people. And I am the type of person that I'm okay with them coming in and talking about their day, and we'll chat a little bit about it. If they're having a rough day, we'll, do the head pats and hugs, and, make people feel a little bit better, and, talk about topics that interest, or just try to make somebody feel better. And it's daunting for sure. I mean, I've had people in dire situations reach out to me, and I'm powerless to do it, and then you just feel kind of hopeless in those instances. But a lot of good has come out of it too, right? I definitely have had people reach out to me saying that because I'm so open on the internet about me, my sexuality orientation, my transness, of course, which some people don't even realize I'm trans until I tell them. And like all that gives them the power to, be themselves. And, it's very uplifting to know that you have made that impact in somebody's life, for sure.
And you can do it all over the world at this point, which is truly amazing. I mean, 20 years ago, none of this is happening. I can tell you for a fact that 30 years ago, it ain't going to happen, because for me,
no, for sure.
For me on the radio, I mean, 35 years ago, I was on the radio and trying to talk to somebody across the planet. And first of all, it costs $1 million, and the quality would be terrible. So that wasn't going to happen. But the fact that people can now come on almost completely anonymously and still be more themselves is I mean, it doesn't sound like it makes sense, but it really is what happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing
Yeah.
to me, and
No, it definitely is. Yeah.
and I hope you're proud of that you can help
Mm-hmm.
people do that, because that
No,
is
I am proud of that for
yeah,
sure.
that is a huge thing today for people to feel accepted and feel that they are who they want to be, and everybody else can go jump in a lake. That type of thing. It's not easy to do, and my hat's off to you for that. But also for just being on and streaming like you have anyway. I mean, that's a heck of a record you've got there with as many games as you started, and keeping people here and going. Um, where did
Mm-hmm.
you get the energy to do this?
Honestly, I do social spooning, and I have a social battery. So,
Uh,
for me, I actually get more recharged by doing those social activities. So the thing I look forward to the most out of any
Hi,
day
I
that
have
I'm
people on my
streaming
screen
is
right
the
now.
stream that I'm
If you
doing,
can't
whether
hear
I
it
be
because
at
they're
work or
mute.
doing anything else. I'm looking forward to when I get to press go live and chat with people. And I'm a curious being. I like to know what people are doing and what kind of things are going on, and just having a conversation with people is enough to of a driving force for me. There was only a brief period where I wasn't regularly streaming, and that was due to some like personal and work commitments. And I worked retail in the holiday season. That's all I'll
uh,
say about that.
whoa,
But that's not something I have to worry about anymore.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. That's you
yeah,
talk about a life
but
experience. Yeah.
well, I was a manager of a game store around Christmas time, and I was in that at that company for 13 years. So like
No.
it was a lot.
And you have skin left. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. I feel like I've gotten pretty tough skin over the years. Dealing with ruining lots of Christmases, but
Yeah, but you get to wear that Grinch costume every once in a while. It's pretty
yeah,
good.
exactly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
The going on and doing the uh, being on with other streamers. Did
Mhm.
you find that easy, or was it a case of you of kind of reaching outside your comfort zone to do collaborations?
For me, a lot of a lot of my apprehension comes from like conversing with you right now. You can tell that I'm not that shy of a person once you get me started,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
I'm very open. I can communicate very clearly.
yeah.
But when you put me in a situation where I have to reach out myself to
Mm,
initiate the conversation,
yeah.
is a bit of a different story. I'm a bad initiator. I am the type of person that I'm reactionary. Every day I get DMs from, anywhere from 10 to 25 different people, and I'll chat with them. I'm very rarely going out of my way to make outgoing messages to people. I'm just taking whatever social energy I have to respond to the people that are sending me messages. So that's kind of where a lot of my issues come from. And of course, you found me through the social media post that I did about not getting invited to collabs. Well, I had 2 different collabs this past week, and I got another one planned for Monday, and
Yeah.
now it's definitely a lot more active in that sense. And it's because I basically finally got out of my comfort zone and started actively reaching out instead of just sitting there being like, oh, woe is me. I'm just going to sit here and wait for people to message me.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it's you got to by doing that you've expanded your own horizons,
Mhm.
and now you get to take that and hopefully add that a little bit into your life off the internet, it's giving not only your listeners and your watchers and the people who follow you, but it's giving yourself a bigger, better smorgasbord of life to choose from,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
may not make a lot of sense, but it's the only thing that came to my mind at the time.
Yeah. It's like for me, I find that in terms of like stream performance on days when I do collabs, it's not as good as when I do just solo. So I have to realize that it's the experience
Mhm.
and the communication with other streamers that's the important part of those days.
Mhm.
Is because people come to expect a certain thing when you go to a certain streamer's chat, right?
Right.
And for me, it's the conversation, it's the chat interaction that I'm good at. um when I was playing rhythm games and stuff like that, I used to have drop off for chat because people would think that I can't communicate while I'm playing those types of games. But I would literally, people that stuck around, I could literally play a rhythm game and like full combo stuff while I'm chatting with people because I have really good peripheral vision.
Well, I mean, it sounds to
Yeah.
me, it really sounds to me like this has really been a gigantic positive for you all the way around.
Oh yeah, for sure it is, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just new experiences more than anything. And even just the conversations that I had because of that has been positive. I found out that a lot more people than I realized were nervous to ask me to do something with them because they felt like I was like in a tier above them in terms of like streamer status.
Yeah.
And I'm using air quotes. You can't see my hands, but I did air quotes.
I can almost hear them in your voice.
Right?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, that's how I was feeling about some other streamers that were quote unquote above me as
Right,
well.
right.
So like
Yeah.
it's so funny to think that.
Yeah.
Right?
You create your own hierarchy that way.
Yeah,
but you also-
exactly. Right.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm above anybody else. I still feel like I'm very much a small streamer, but some people have other perceptions, I guess.
Well,
know?
Well, I can tell you this. Folks need to check out what you got going on. We're going to have the links in the description for this interview. And Penny, I hope you do come back on again really, really soon because I've enjoyed this conversation quite a bit. And no worries here. I think you're very easy to talk to.
I'm glad to hear.
And we'll get you back again. Have you got any? First of all, before we let you go, is there any big plans coming up? Any big events on your channel?
I don't really have any major plans or events. I will say that the next big thing that I'm going to do is I'm probably going to do something on my 2-year affiliate anniversary, which is on the, let me just pull up a calendar right quick. It is on the 28th of September, so that's Saturday. So I'll probably be doing something fun at that point.
All right.
I don't know exactly what yet. It may be related to future endeavors that I have on alternative streaming services. I won't necessarily elaborate any further than that, other than to say that
I've been dinged on those
it might be
before.
a little bit spicy.
I've been dinged on that occasionally on this channel.
Yeah, like I said, that's why I'm being vague. So
I do appreciate that, but I really do appreciate more that you came on the show and talked with me, and I hope we can do this again. Let me know when that's coming up so we can promote it a little bit for you, and please,
for sure,
just keep right on doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.